any attention for Twila unless it is Sam D and Teen also roaming over. And we instantly see the takeaway of the Alistar, again, the famed pairing with that Samira. And now we're looking towards junglers. The Olaf is still up, despite the fact that it has obviously been hit with nerfs this patch. It has still been one of the go-tos, but we're getting Leyan on the Lillia once again.
Yes, we are. The farming jungler continues forward. And just a note on the Alistar as well, what I've really loved about the interaction is the Alistar just annoys the hell out of Samira. Not only good with her, but good against her. So something that's a really a good priority pick here for Hung. TT, of course, the other big support open. Rell, who is Kled's wife, is just going to be facilitating the spot. So a nice pairing.
Oh, I like it a lot. We've hit on this champion numerous times, and I do expect TT to just lock in the Olaf here. We did see the flash of Nidalee, which Xiaopeng hasn't gotten to play this split. It is one of the things I think historically he has been more known for. It's the champion most banned against him. Twila flashes the Rek'Sai. We get a bit excited, and yep, just stock and standard.
It's his best champion by far. Still spams it in solo queue. With the Prowler's Claw mostly, is a fun fact. There you go, there's Tristana. So iBoy pairing up with the Alistar, which again is another good combination. We got volatility in the bottom lane once again. What's new in Season 11? Now, solo laners, there's none of them. So we just need to see Banth going through, and Twila's Zillion pocket pick is the first to be taken off the board.
And I mean, I think it would work very nicely with what TT have. I still don't expect that we would have seen it regardless. It feels like it gives up over way too much lane pressure. A big pick in my mind for both of these players is the Orianna is still open. That's something that Twila's actually been playing a lot of. FoFo's picked it up 3 times this split as well. Syndra's already banned. I feel like we're going to get into the niche of mid lane champions where, we have things like the Victor available. We have things along the lines of the Yone, but again, both of those even fall more into the niche category than not. So maybe RA here just going to pick up the Yone themselves. They have the AP jungler.
True. FoFo's one of the few people to play it up as well, and I think FoFo did a pretty good job on it. So I'd be excited to see that once again, considering that we do have an AP jungler. A lot of the time, mid laners want to partner up with that AD threat. But at the very least, with a farming jungler, it might not matter too much. There goes Orianna, as you mentioned. And let's see if it goes down to mid lane counter pick or setting up for the top side before you can give Chelizi one of his favorite.
You do have Gnar open, so I think Gnar is the most blindable champion left open. Doesn't really have any too bad matches, but ooh, actually the Jayce has come through. Jayce has been the answer into Gnar, actually. So they're not only getting a strong lane matchup in top side, they're kind of pinching Chelizi out of what would probably be his go-to pick.
Also, you add a lot of range against a composition that has Samira, Olaf, Rell. We don't know what's going to be coming through, but you assume the Gnar if Chelizi just wants to pick that up. Ooh, good
Gragas has been a champion that historically has done pretty decently against Jayce. You don't really win the lane as you'd expect, but hey, Twila going back to one of his favorites as well. We saw Shanks pick this one up the other day.
And I just watched Clash of the Titans, so I'm in a real Medusa kind of mood. So this is perfect timing. You got Twila on a champion he's very comfortable on. It's
very strange though, because usually you see Cassiopeia do really well against low-range compositions that want to run into her. That's when we saw WE bringing out up against FPX. But this time around, you have 3 champions that don't necessarily need to commit into. Sure, Tristana's auto range isn't high enough early game to where she can avoid the Cassiopeia ultimate or the W, but is decent up against the Alistar. But again, I feel like RA do have the range to play with, but this time, TT have opted into the teamfight composition, which I do like.
And a really cool interaction, the first part of the rocket jump, if you're facing towards Cassiopeia, mid-rocket jump, you can actually get stuck in place. So we'll see how it works if we actually get to have a look at that. But at the very least, bit of a change up here, Lyric. Walk me through a little bit better of TT, because now that you're taking the hard front line, it feels like this is a comp that can set Cassiopeia up for success and also have multiple outs and not just put everything onto Samira.
I do want to hit on RA's comp first, just for the fact that we do get the flex pick, right? We have Jayce going in the mid lane matchup. This is a bit of an older matchup as well, where Jayce can do very, very well up against the Cassiopeia. It really comes down to mechanics, of course. How many of those accelerated shock blasts are you able to hit? You have a lot of all-in potential against her as well. That's why we saw Twila opt in for the exhaust at the last second, because he knows he will be susceptible to a lot of the early damage. But still, when we go back to the criteria of like, hey, 5v5 team fights are kind of king in LPL, I think TT have the more traditional, we're going to scale, we have frontliners, we have the 5v5 team comp, we know which lanes are going to play around, it's going to be mid and bot, to where for RA, it's a bit harder to execute. It's a lot more about playing off of range advantage. I wouldn't exactly necessarily call it poke, but you know, using the tempo in your lanes to get ahead, rotate around the map, set up that 1-3-1 later on.
Does feel like we have a stage issue there, but ref coming in over to iBoy. I'm not sure if that is enough for the game not to start, but they are backing away, so it feels like we're okay for now. I hope I don't jinx it, but seeing the Jayce in the mid lane at the very least, you know, you talk about that range advantage or the harder to execute composition. It is Rare Adam, a team that we expected to be in that mid to upper echelon, depending on how they go here today. It's been a rocky start. It's been a rougher start against TT, but Game 2 showed us that they're here to play, and Game 3 will give us our final answer as we take it away. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for waiting patiently with us. Looks like the issue has been fixed, even if it was a small one, and we're now on to Summoner's Rift once again with TT and Rare Adam. And hey, Lyric, we have not been on the Summoner's Rift in the LPL pre like 40, 50 seconds, even a minute in a long time. So this is a blessing. We get to see at the first 30 seconds of the game.
Definitely is. And again, we get a spicier draft this time around. This is what you have been begging for in the first 2 games. But when we look at it, right, again, we expect TT to play more around the bot side of the map early on. Twila's going to need some time to get online. He's just going to be pretty much farming throughout this first 10 minutes of the game. We're going to see if TT can get an advantage bot and try to rotate that over towards the Herald play. For the side of RA, I think you're playing a lot of mid jungle, and then you're also transitioning that bot. You pick the Tristana, you pick the Alistar, has amazing all-in potential. Tristana has been one of the go-to kind of rising counters, if you would say, into the Samira pick. Yep. So I expect a lot of action. Cube and Chelizi will just be on their own.
Nice start to the game here for the top laner. Chelizi getting the knock-up. That's true. You know, we talk about this lane. Of course, Cube is going to be in a comfortable position against the Sion. But for now, getting the health advantage. Xiaopeng actually starting top. And another thing we talked about last game is the leashless start to kind of ruse the opponents. Both these junglers are going to be going leashless start. And Leyan not going to be spotted out by that ward either for the time being. So as he walks on up, he'll go to Krugs, then to Red, and will be quicker clearing at this point.
Now, another thing I want to hit on is I'm really interested that we saw Chelizi. Oh,
good interaction.
Yeah, we see Chelizi take the grasp of the Undying. You have a few different rune choices in this matchup. We've actually seen people take Comet before because, again, you do have the range versus melee disparity. It's pretty hard for Chelizi to get an auto range to actually proc that grasp. Another choice, you have a Spellbook to play for more of the team fights, but Chelizi is showing he does want to be aggressive in this laning phase. He does want to try and look for these all-ins onto Cube.
I just want to talk about mid quickly, though, because Twila's opted in for Exhaust, and he's got Conquer, and actually started with Corrupting Potions, so that tells me that the Twin Fang level 1, trying to edge out a bit of a cheeky trade against FoFo, was not successful, but at the very least has sustained in this lane.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to be forced to burn a flash.
Shock Blast there. Swellseed perfectly lined up. He's popped back, and you mentioned the flash. That's gone. And Cassiopeia, slow in these early levels, going to have to walk back.
And going back to your point, it's really Cassiopeia's only window early on in this matchup to get ahead is that level 1 point spamming that E, because of course your E does outrange Jayce's normal auto attacks. Ooh. Cube and Chelizi.
There's a level advantage. Cube is just going to bully him out. Chelizi burning all his pots, and now he has a cookie in his inventory, so he should be okay. But Cube getting back some of the early trading.
We also need to remember that Cube has fleet footwork, right? So he's going to be able to get his HP back as well, to where Chelizi is going to rely more on the Doran shield as well as the biscuits.
Trading in the top side, that will continue on. We still see Cube pushing out, while bottom side priority here, you already mentioned, towards Sam D and Teen. This is for the Scuttle Crab as Swellseed tries to land on top of Twila. Just note that FoFo burned the flash in the trade as well, so the follow-up will have to come from Leyan to burn that Summoner. But for now, at the very least, it's just a Scuttle Crab trade, while Leyan a bit behind in tempo, considering he made that gank. He tried to impact mid once again as he was passing through.
And I like that we don't have flash on both mid laners, because I think that'll set us up for a level 6 2v2, where I slightly favor TT for the fact that they have more burst. If a 2v2 breaks out and TT get onto... Twila.
Here we go again. Exhaust going to be put down. Twila's right in the middle of the lane. Miasma keeps me hard a breath, and the first blood goes over to Rare Adam. Xiaopeng watches and waits.
And let's remember, this is the third time Leyan showed mid, but we don't have time for that.
I love the LPL when we fight like this. iBoy and Hung now on top of Teeen, but the trade back is pretty good here from Samd and Teeen. Hung heals up, but of course, Samd and Teeen can walk back into lane. That's the main thing here. After Ignite was burned by Hung.
And now we're just getting a ton of action all over the map. But going back to my last point, really good gank coming out from the side of RA. Because at level 6, I feel like if TT get on a member of RA first, on Leyan or FoFo, they'll be instantly bursted from the Cassio ult and then the burst from the Olaf. Compared to RA, where it's obviously way more skill shot reliant, right? You need to hit a swirl seed, or you need to get Leyan up close first for him to find the sleep, and then FoFo to kind of slowly set up his combo. It's not as fast as what the likes of Cassio and Olaf can do. So I like that RA are accelerating this 2v2 earlier on.
When you get to that 6 as well, just note, excuse me, that the sleep from Twila can't be cleansed away. Didn't opt in for that, and of course, does he pay the tax is going to be the quickest question, because without summoners, Cassiopeia a bit of a sitting duck, especially without the ultimate herself. So we'll track and see if Twila can do anything when he hits 6, if he can survive until that point, which, let's be honest, is not going to be too far away. Leyan just clearing his camps now, and so that means that Twila and FoFo should be 6 themselves soon too.
Luckily for him, right, he's a mid laner, so he can't really get abused too much by wave manipulation to where he will be forced in situations where he can be ganked. The thing that will be interesting is once we hit 6, and Leyan can look to sit behind the Jayce in mid, throw out that swirl seed, and look for the sleep without Twila even knowing, and set up the gank that way.
2v2 through mid, still being pressured, as you can see on the other side. It's actually Xiaopeng moving in. Shock Blast does connect onto Twila, and he's about a moment away. Just hit 6 there in front of our eyes. Teeen even roaming up as well. Remember, FoFo still no flash from previously. There's the petrifying gaze, and FoFo looks into the eyes of the sun, and down he'll turn into ashes. TT with their first kill of the game.
Yeah, I was trying to weave in another auto. I'm not sure if his phase rush had already procced or not. I think it did, so I don't think it would have mattered anyway had he gotten that last auto off, but really nice petrifying gaze coming out from Twila. Again, if you are a new viewer to the LPL, you don't know who Twila is. This is one of his main champions, plays it every year, and it's great to see once again. TT, they go from bot to mid, relieve pressure for Twila, and then wrap around back towards bot. But with the resets coming out, this should be a free Drake for RA.
Pulls it up. There's going to be an Ocean start 7 minutes into the game. Xiaopeng nearby, but not willing to challenge, of course, with bottom side priority. And iBoy just clearing out as well. Make sure the blast cone can't be used to make a steal. And as this dragon resets a couple of times, thinks about its life and becomes actually aware that it's going to die. Cloud comes up after that, so Ocean going over to RA to start the game off, and usually we do see the trade of the Rift Herald up towards that top side, so we'll see if Xiaopeng can get himself set up. But top side right now, a bit of an issue as Cube is pushing it out.
And we see the plated steel caps coming out for Chelizi already as well, not wanting to take too much of that punishment, but ooh, we're getting a return gank in mid.
Xiaopeng, bit of a bully with Teeen. This is what we heard from the players before. We talked about it a little bit in game 2, how supports linking up with junglers, especially in these two teams, is going to be prevalent, and Teeen on the Rell doing that, thinking that he's fine to leave Samd alone in the bottom lane.
I also want to point out that was really good summoner spell timing coming out from TT. They had just missed the window. Ooh, speaking of windows.
Ragnarok there is going to be used. He's waiting and he gets burned down to half health. The house is already thrown. Unfortunately, Mortgage is already paid off, so Cube can do whatever he wants with it as moves back to the Herald. Ward's there to spot him out, but with that damage down, this may have been a really good trade for RA.
And RA are committing iBoy towards the top side with Samira still showing bot. It just shows that TT are going to give this one up. If they do posture to take this, I don't know if I opt for that, but hey, RA are getting a bit greedy.
Leyan coming through, and there you go, speedy sign. Leyan wants to steal. He flashes in, immediately gets the swirl down. It's blooper reel time here as Xiaopeng will get the Herald steal. That's great, but will he die for it? Even throws an axe at the end. Someone's been playing a bit of Valhelm and getting the double kill down in the end. Samd now taking a bit of a trade himself. iBoy in the mid lane, puts him down to half health. Samd jumps back in, has to flash away. Samd follows through, doesn't get the heal in the end. This is a bit of a messy game as it's flash for flash. Twila disappearing into the mid lane. RA win on the kill count, but the Herald went over to the Viking.
I think that was a little bit greedy of RA of how they peeled off the Herald so quickly. They were trying to get a bit of better tempo off their resets to where had they committed, you know, the 2 or so members who are already there just 5 to 10 seconds longer, none of that would have happened. But hey, like you said, RA come out ahead in terms of kills, but I feel like that was a pretty massive flop from the side of RA with the objective.
Yeah.
Because look, everyone had already moved away. This gave TT the window to move in and be able to steal this one away. Still, Hung finds pretty good lockdown onto Teeen. FoFo capitalizes immediately. Xiaopeng is left in the middle of everyone, so you already know he's dead. And then we have this AD carry duel in the mid lane. Absolutely popping off. Really nice Q coming out from SamD there. Heals, instantly dashes in with the Infernal Trigger, and yeah, picks up a kill, but goes down in the end as well.
We didn't even get to see the rest of the play, which is Twila flashing away. A bit of a shout out for Twila, actually. He got the Petrifying Gaze that locked Cube in place. Rather, not Cube. Was a member, I think it was Hung. And Xiaopeng just kind of sliced through with the axe in the end. So Twila gets yet another assist in this game on his Cassiopeia. And another kill goes over to the jungle. But speaking of kills, I think we're getting to the point where we're just going to fight again. Lucky to get away with the blast cone. Lyric, also, Leyan and FoFo in that engage picked up a couple of kills. So that's quite large considering we talked a lot about the mid 2v2 and especially the individuals on these champions.
The thing is, we haven't been seeing much of a 2v2 anymore. We saw 2v2
True.
early from RA, and TT realized very quickly, we have bot prio. Let's just keep bringing Teeen towards the mid lane. Heck, it's a party. Even Chelizi's here, sharing a ton of plate gold. It's not too bad for RA because they're at least getting individual golden experience on other members, but this turret's going to pretty much be gone.
It is. What's the trade-off? Nothing. At this point in the map, you can see Cube is pushing in, but the Herald charges down, and that's a lot of plates going over to Twila.
The bad part really is the fact that the only person who was getting golden XP on your team, really, an advantage was Cube. Like, Cube was, and Cube is maybe dead.
Is he maybe dead? Hop on the minion. That'll give him a bit of mobility through the lane. He spends it over, and you know what? That's a flash into the unstoppable onslaught. Cube now sent back into the enemy turret with Ragnarok giving the damage bonus. Decimating smash. 3rd kill for Xiaopeng. And you know what? That's probably not worth any more.
And the thing, the worst part when you think about it is they not only just got all those plates mid, they just got this kill up top. Sure, Gnar got a bit more experience in gold than Sion, but Samira has been in the bot lane the whole time, you know, getting gold, getting EXP. Oh my god, is Chelizi dead now?
I don't know if this is a solo kill or not. This is level 9 versus level 8. Lilting Lullaby going to be used. Leyan doesn't have the damage, but Hung going to come on through. The Alistar, watch, he'll steal this kill, Lyric, but Leyan kills him in the end. Never mind. Hung just comes through to tank up the turret, and somehow Lillia did that.
Oh, this has been a... Oh, God, we're not stopping.
Okay, all right.
We're stopping. But yeah, Dragon is coming up, Hysterics. We don't have Xiaopeng on the bot side. Actually, neither jungler is on the bottom side, so we're just going to kind of be split mapping, trading plate gold. Samira on one side, Lillia on the other. Definitely, once again, I feel like that trade favors TT. Gold exactly even. And now with Olaf getting the reset first, I feel like TT should be the ones to start moving down and be able to take this dragon.
Oh, I want to correct myself because actually really good timing for Leyan. He has the Leandri's Torment, the Leandri's Anguish, the Leandri's Lament, the Leandri's Depression, whatever it's called now. So really well timed considering there's not too much MR on Chelizi up in the top lane bar the Null Magic Mantle. So feels like Leyan played that really nicely. But you're right, you know, the dragon there, we're waiting for the second dragon to be picked up. Gold even at this point in the game. And it is actually TT who have priority moving Xiaopeng in, who is level 9 and has 3 kills himself with Gore Drinker.
And TT do get first move on the objective with the tempo that we talked about. Maybe gonna look for a play first on Leyan. Does have flash though.
That's a flash from Teeen. Magnet Storm and opposites don't attract in this reaction. A big shutdown going over to Teeen,
also,
unfortunately.
Hysterics, I think I was wrong. I think Leyan's flash was just about to come up.
Oh, I can see the little tick on the side. You're right, Lyric. We should have, well, we listened to you the first time, but this time we're really listening. So as he goes down, the gold shared over to Teeen. Dragon going to go over to 1 apiece, and we're going to go to a Mountain Rift? Yes, we are. Yes, of course we are. That's big for TT. Running the Sion this time around with the Rell on the other side. Because remember, every time you hit an enemy champion, stealing the stacks, that's going to be beefed up by Mountain as well. So it feels really nice to be running a comp like TT.
Especially when you're up against a Jayce, right? Doesn't really deal any amount of DPS, is all burst. So if TT can start stacking up those resistances FoFo is just going to pretty much be null and void in this game, and it's going to be all up to Leyan and iBoy. And despite the fact that iBoy, again, pumped off in team fights last game, performed well, I feel like for RA, you can't just all into the iBoy basket. iBoy's good to have. iBoy will step up and do crazy plays, but you need another consistent, like, DPS carry in your team for iBoy to be able to shine as well. iBoy's the wild card. You need someone else for stability. Jayce won't really bring that if TT stacks up these Mountain Drakes.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, you know, if we're just talking about players, like FoFo is stability in this roster at the very least, you know, but on the Jayce, you raise a really good point. He does have Eclipse, but he's not that hard DPS carry like the Azir we normally see, or even look more at the Zoe that has the burst, but consistent burst, if that's even a thing. Is that a thing? Consistent burst? That's what Zoe is.
I feel like consistent burst is a thing. I don't know if I would describe Zoe as consistent.
What is a consistent burst for you?
Now that's a good question. Let's pull up a list of
Aphelios of
champions.
season 10. Yeah, he was DPS. He was assassin, mage. Like he was consistent
Tank,
burst.
Frontliner.
Oh yeah, true. Kane's a good one. Kane's a very good one. Well, Herald's going to be started. We'll take you back to the game, ladies and gentlemen, as RA have actually kicked this one off, but Xiaopeng moving in. There is a level advantage now, and still has that Gore Drinker versus the Leandries. And Herald's actually just going to reset. Xiaopeng not touching it with a 6-inch pole, so he's just going to move mid and clear vision instead.
Yeah, they knew that Leyan was hovering around the top side of the map and kind of splitting off Sam D and Teeen. If they do go for... If they go for... No, he's not. He's not a good one, Hysterics. I'm sorry.
I just popped over chat super quick. They said Rise. So I don't know. I believe Lyric.
I feel like I consider Rise more of like artillery unit.
Is this a Mega? Mega? Yeah, he stops it. Sorry to interrupt there, Lyric, but Cube's actually kicked off the play. iBoy getting low on the top side as well, and Sam D flashes for it. Takes him down. Ready to get that S rank, but doesn't need it as Hung's actually going to be flashed on as well. It's TT who bring up the play. Off the back end, we're suddenly back into the action.
Hysterics, you need to stop distracting us from this high-tier gameplay.
Yeah.
TT picking up these massive kills. Gonna turn mid. This is gonna be mid-turret as well. Maybe RA can answer for it in the bottom lane, but TT definitely taking the better end of this trade.
And getting proactive, moving to the mid lane. They've got a Herald, remember. So it's either inner turret, it's either top side. They've got so many advantages they can play through. And TT pulling the trigger feels really, really nice. As even though Chelizi gets stopped, a play that's won in the end, gonna net them about 3,000 gold in the lead and then some. And TT, with the composition that you talked about with the full 5-on-5, feel like a really good position moving into this mid game.
And they're getting gold on a lot of the right characters. Is Chelizi going to be able to get back to lane instantly, so this turret not going to fall at least yet. Ooh, sleep.
Bedtime, flash, shock blast, poke. Twila dangerously low and FoFo flashes in. Petrifying Gaze keeps him in place, but it's not enough with the turret shots until Teeen comes in over the wall. Kled's wife, oh, she's very angry as FoFo dodges away, but he's still dead. Thank you for the shutdown, says Xiaopeng, and he's even beefier than before.
And TT now holding a 2,000 gold lead, and it's going to be evened out a little bit. We do see Tristana on the top side and Gnar in the bottom lane. I feel like RA should be able to pick up both of these turrets as we go into the replay that, again, Hysterics so rudely distracted us from. We see Teeen going into the nice blasting plan. Ooh, really nice crash down setting up for the Samira play. And just really consistent follow-up coming from the members of TT. I also like the way that Xiaopeng wraps around and cuts off Hung's escape path, forcing him to then flash over the wall.
I don't know what happened, but I think I either saw a flash into the wall or I think I saw Teeen into the wall. Maybe we get a replay of the replay that we're just replaying. Or, sorry, not that replay, but the other replay, the live replay that was actually live and not a replay. Teeen, we're not sure what happened, Bot, but we'll get a quick look at that in a second anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, 2,000 and a bit gold over at 18 minutes. A Mountain Soul available in about 3 Dragons time for both these teams, and Mountain Dragon should be controlled here by TT as RA slow to the punch.
And now we get to the position we were in game 1, but where roles reversed, where for RA, it's really hard for them to just walk in these chokes.
But it is started by Hung. He wants to engage. It's re-engaged with the Magnet Storm in the backline. A 2-man attract in. The Petrifying Gaze on top. TT have won this fight. I can close my eyes and cast right now. I know that TT have won. Even with the lullaby going down, it doesn't matter. Cube runs for his life, and RA walk into a disaster.
I feel like RA probably had to give that one up with the tempo deficit they were at. They had to make their way towards the top side, get some vision down, and try and get that top lane turret from TT. Oh my god, FoFo probably dead.
Yeah, this is Chelizi's moment to shine, I guess. Here we go. Sion and Jayce gonna play the do-si-do. Yakety sacks. I'm not too sure the turret goes down. And
hey, it's FoFo's great escape this time around, Hysterics. We saw Chelizi do it last time. Actually, it was Q who did it last time.
Chelizi has flash. Don't use it. Waiting for the E to come through. He's kiting around. FoFo's got the movement speed. Undertow connects. Phase rush is getting him out. Second one comes through. He bops back, jumps back in. You got to respect him for playing the game.
I mean, he bought his team a lot of time. Twila now might get punished. Being a bit greedy. Is able to get away, though. Might not be able to buy boots, but is still quite fast.
You know, that gets the respect. That gets the, you know... That gets the clap at the end of the day, because FoFo, you're right, bought him a lot of time. They get some vision around Baron, and when RA are falling behind, when they keep losing these fights, getting vision around the objective that can kind of end the series feels pretty nice at this point. So you'll take it if you're FoFo's team and Rare Adam, and as he comes back alive, now we got 3 minutes 20, Lyric. We got Baron sitting up there and available. We got that third Mountain Dragon, excuse me, available for TT in 3 minutes 15 as well.
The thing is, for RA, I don't feel like having the vision control for the Baron really leads to too much other than making sure TT aren't doing it. Hey, guess what? TT are going to do it because RA's comp can't do this, but you have a Cassiopeia. You melt this thing.
Well, there goes my point right down the drain, which is where RA are going. If they don't lose this, they bring in Hung over the wall. It's 5 versus 1. The shock blast poked down the lilting lullaby. Can it turn the players? Team Magnet Storms a bit early. Into the pit, it's a steal. RA keep the game going. They also take one down with them in Teen. As Xiaopeng sent packing here by Cube with the range. And now for RA. Let's go, boys, all the way to mid.
Yeah, and RA going to take off more structures from this, and... TT kind of brought that on themselves. They bring Ping hung over the wall. Leyan able to get over as well, find the sleep. And again, this is going to be a good boon for the side of RA. They can start trying to play out through 3 lanes and pull the members of TT apart and start building up a gold lead.
I wish our chat could see the Colonel because he had a bit of doubts after that play. He's like, I'm not sure anymore. And after the steal goes down, you know, with the when you have 4 members with Baron buff, when you shouldn't by all rights get it. We'll have a look again, Lyric, because bringing Hung in for Teen, maybe that hurt a bit.
Yeah, is able to find the CC down, tries to land the sleep, but actually the sleep didn't really matter. Leyan just walks in, Qs, and smites.
Well, when you know how to press that button at the right time, man, people praise you.
It's also weird because TT's comp's turn potential is really good, right? You have the Rell, you have the Sion. I feel like they kind of baited themselves into trying to burn down the Alistar when they probably could have just ignored him when the other members of RA followed up, because Hung had already burned his combo when he initially got in the pit. He really didn't have too much more to offer.
Well, game goes on, huh? It's now pretty neck and neck with gold, you know, bar the 1,000 that TT have, but the gold lead was much more before. They still have to deal with an 8-1 Olaf, and Chelizi has to actually deal with a bit of pressure down in the bottom lane. He'll ult out of there about a minute before Dragon spawning. I think the ultimate will be back up and available, so not too much given away. But we're just seeing both teams prepare, get that vision control, and get towards those items that'll make difference in the fight. Now, Lyric, before we get into that fight, and as we see the TP coming in, is Cube gonna die? That's the question. Ragnarok's available with Flash, Teen and Sam D on the chase, but Cube has Dead Man's Plate. He's into Mini Gnar. He's safe for now. I was gonna say, what items are gonna make the difference here? Who are you looking at?
To be honest, I don't want to look at any items or a fight. I think RA should just give this next Dragon, let TT get on Soul Point. I don't have confidence that they can win this 5v5. And a big thing to note is the fact that we highlighted Twila took Exhaust. So RA will pretty much always have a TP advantage. They will always be able to try to pull members apart, but they are TPing FoFo in and they're going to look for it.
All right, well, ultimates available across the board here pretty much. The Unstoppable Onslaught, though, for Chelizi, the only one down. At this point, Cube wants to get into the Mega Nara's Dragon, sitting there waiting. Lilting Lullaby at the ready as well, but it's onto Xiaopeng, who has the Ragnarok available we talked about. Hung walking back, the shock blast onto Teen. Dragon in bad position as Teen. Magnustorm only onto one, the Lilting Lullaby. Not going to be used yet from Leyan, who has to flash away, but iBoy is just chunking back into the line. Xiaopeng can't kill him. The 8-1 Olaf is rocket jumped on. He's so much of the damage here for TT until Sam D and Twila get into the fight. So far, Twila done a lot of damage in this brigade. He's already used the Petrifying Gaze and his flash, but look at the backside. This fight's still going, and Hung wants to find his way back in.
And honestly, I feel like this should just be all RA unless Sam D pulls off a miracle.
We'll see, because Cube is coming in. They've flanked around. They've sandwiched down the Dragon to iBoy. And Chelizi now going to be dropping to TT lose it all. And RA firmly grasping this game between their fingers.
And I feel like Teeen just got way too ahead of himself with that engage. They didn't need to look for it at that moment. They try to get onto Leyan. Leyan is one of the more slippery members for the sides of RA. I really feel like you are looking primarily for FoFo, but even if you get on iBoy, that is a nice plus. RA were able to disengage. We didn't see Chelizi really able to find his way onto any priority targets either. And with the Petrifying Gaze being used on, I think it maybe hit one target, but it might not have even hit one, that TT weren't able to do much. We are going to get the replay here. Keep your eyes on Teen. He is going to jump in as RA are the ones doing the dragon. Does find the stun, but still Leyan able to get away with the flash, and Teen instantly goes down. We do see iBoy and FoFo then left untouched. TT are fighting into the opposite side of the fight. Again, Petrifying Gaze wasn't really able to do anything. And when you're utilizing all your resources on the supporting cast of RA's comp, of course RA are going to come out ahead.
I knew Hung was coming in from the back line, but grouping in this choke, nowhere to go in the end. And I think Hung played that fight really, really well to Lyric. He's a bit of a pain in the butt. You know, that's what all good Alistars should be. 0, 3, and 9. Not really a James Bond character, but Shirelli has been a key initiator for the fights for RA. And now, we're going to be realistic. It's 4,000 gold in RA's lead. This game looked to be done with TT starting the Baron. It's one steal, another fight to follow through, and suddenly TT are like the opposite end.
And I feel like TT have done this to themselves, right? They've been consistently in positions where they should be winning if they do execute correctly, but they're pulling the trigger too soon. They're misplaying some opportunities. They're not where they should be on the map or getting picked off. Again, they lost that last Baron, which was very much theirs. And they're actually... It looks like they want to double down. They're getting vision for the Baron that will be up soon, and heck, maybe they just go for it at this point. Now they actually are down. Maybe this is the point where you do double down.
Well, you got to make a play, I guess. That's what Teen's saying. He has the Hex Flash and the Magnet Storm once again. Taking a lot of damage here from the Serelda's Grudge on the Jayce, and that's 3 items. He's got the slowing effect as well, so a lot of chase down now available. I guess if I'm looking at TT, if they want to double down Lyric, as Baron seems to be the objective, I'm looking at Twila to hit that Petrifying Gaze that changes the pace once again.
And now, though, I do like what TT are doing. It feels like they're trying to utilize Chelizi as a main form of engage, trying to bait RA closer into that brush. But RA not going to make that mistake. Cube almost does have Mega, though, so we need to keep our eyes on how he uses it.
How's Teen going to find that flank, find that angle onto the backside? He started off the crash down, but no one's with him for now. Teen gets bursted. You said Teen was ahead of the gun last time. This time, I think he's actually just lost the game. Twila will dodge as Cube goes forward into the wall. Is he now too far forward? He gets knocked back and he dies. And an int for an int makes intelligent play. That's what my father used to always say.
And the thing is, I feel like Teeen is getting desperate because they don't just want to have a forward standoff with RA on the wave. RA are going to throw out the poke from Lillia, the poke from Jayce. Tristana is now getting to a point where she can just auto TT without being touched. But that was just way too desperate. Like you said, he went in by himself.
Okay. Baron's gone. Well, let's recheck our watches. What time is it? It tells me it's time for a team to pick up the purple worm, walk away, and the game to be at a weird place once again. Of course, RA still have the gold lead. Nothing's really changed the past 5 minutes, but TT, you know, TT stands for teen, right? Teen is really the cornerstone, the make or break, it seems, of this team.
I'll be honest, Hysterics, coming out from drafts, I thought TT were going to win. I liked what TT put together in this draft. I didn't think RA would be able to execute on the conditions that their champions set out for them, but TT proved us strong. I don't necessarily feel like RA proved us wrong too much. It definitely feels like this game has been all about TT. Hey, but 29 kills in 29 minutes.
Yeah, we have had that. Yeah, you know, and you and I, it's our return after the bit of a break. We've moved to new places, moved to a bit of a new Airbnb. We're experiencing a new environment, and I feel like we're experiencing a new LPL game. Every time we see this TT, we just get, you know, disappointed, happy, then disappointed again. I'm going to see if TT can impress me once more here in this series before RA takes it away. No Mountain Soul available, but it is soul point for both these teams. And RA start this off with iBoy kicking it away, but FoFo does some meaty damage. Dragon's going down, Xiaopeng's into the pit, Teeen engaged, but this time it could be okay, but someone needs to kill iBoy. He's free hitting on the backside, so Xiaopeng starts dealing with him. Lilting Lullaby can only be done onto one as Leyan has to disappear as well, but Chelizi, the next target, iBoy, reset City on the back line, getting hit by a zombie, while FoFo deals with the rest. Goodbye, TT. Rare Adams say it's time for you to go home.
Yeah, and they honestly might just be able to push out and look for the end. I'm not sure if death timers are long enough, but they will at least definitely get some inhibitors. You highlighted it, Hysterics. FoFo and iBoy once again able to free hit in these fights.
When you give a Tristana breathing room in a fight, you know it's all over. You know that iBoy had a great time there as well, and other damage threat from FoFo comes in clutch. You're right, Lyric. We're heading towards the base. Teen's the only person available. And as he just walks up and says, hey guys, maybe I can slow this down, you know that there's nothing he can do to stop this push. RA bounce back. TT pretty much hand it to them on a, I don't know what color platter it is, but let's call it an iron platter because that's how the series ended.
Let's be honest. There was so much action that game, we didn't actually get a whole lot of time to break down the game. One really cool thing I liked coming out from FoFo that game was, again, he played exceptionally well in those team fights. He was pretty much untouched every time, but I liked that he built the Sorelda's Grudge, had the 30% armor pen, which was insane up against TT's team composition, and also the slow up against his comp that, again, is very short range, really wants to run into you, I felt like was doing a lot. But at the end of the day, TT kept not being able to find the angles to engage onto the backline of RA. They were playing angles extremely well. We saw 3 or 4 fights in a row where iBoy and FoFo were left untouched. Teen kept engaging onto the front line or supporting cast of RA's composition.
Yeah, it was, you know, questionable a lot of the time. And isn't it crazy because in game 2, no, it was game 1 where we were really complimenting Teen. We're saying, you know, Teen had a really good game. And even in game 2, in some of the better engages for TT, Teen was a pivotal force. So I'm just surprised how a player can go from such a great start to the series to such a lackluster finish. And now for TT, you know, back to the drawing board. Let's be quite honest. This team we knew was kind of going to be in that bottom echelon. But every time we see them, we're kind of reminded at some of the major problems with this team and how they can go from being quite decisive to fickle within the same series.
Still, for the expectations we have for this roster, I still think this was a pleasant surprise. They picked up one game, which to be fair, I very much expect this to be a 2-0, and every game in this series was close. Every game could have been won by either team, which when the games were this messy, is it a compliment? Kind of yes and no, because again, these are still very new rosters for TT. They have very young players. They're integrating like language barriers coming with SAMD. And again, I actually don't think this is a negative result for TT. You mentioned before how you saw RA as a summer team. I've always pictured TT as a summer team. TT aren't going to be a roster that's going to come together in spring. But RA, in my opinion, are a team that does have the pieces that should be doing well now. And it, at least I would say is a sigh of relief that they won this series.
And even though it was a hard-fought series, it was a slow start. I think RA will be happy at the end of the day because now they're sitting at 5-3. Just in terms of standings, JDG are also at 5-3. WE is 6-3 who are playing after this. RNG 6-1. So Rare Atom move up to that equal 5th place. And even though they don't have game differential, it's good to see that this team is performing earlier and better than expected. So you take away that RA are at least performing, and you look at the gold graph and you say, that's my LPL, all right, because that was TT with almost 3,500 gold at about 20 minutes in the game.
You know, going back to your schedule point real quick, not your schedule point, but the teams RA has been playing.
Yeah.
It's that RA is a very mixed schedule, right? Because you highlighted their wins earlier. There's some good wins. They beat WE, they beat LNG. They've already played teams like JDG and Suning. So, like, they have teams like LGD and OMG and E-Star left. These are teams you expect them to beat. But they do also still have like the EDGs and IGs of the world.
FPX,
but I think that's really positive for RA because they're getting towards that point where they're getting enough wins to where they should be a playoff team, right? They shouldn't have to worry at least about hitting that top 10 requirement.
Especially when teams like V5 aren't performing, you know, to the strength as expected. You know, V5 took a loss against TT. Like, that could come in handy later on down the track. Struggling against teams like E-Star.
Billy struggling as well unexpectedly. Yeah. Suning struggling. There's a lot of teams that were expected to be at least a bit better who aren't performing, and you're right, RA can take massive advantage of that.
And I think it's an opportunity to look at like RA as a team that could create upsets in the future, right? All they have to do is kind of nail down the consistent points we want to see in the mid game. Like, we talk about shot calling and decision making because you mentioned in game one that point about the voice of the team when they have such a scattered lineup considering experience. Like, iBoy is one of the most experienced members on this roster. Leyan technically, because Leyan's also been to Worlds, but we're looking at a team that needs that strong, dominant voice. Someone needs to step up, and I think that'll be found as we go through. And I guess you as a coach can kind of weigh in on how that development's made within a team environment and what you kind of want to see and expect to see.
I'll be honest. I feel like developing voices and developing like callers is a very I don't want to say overrated, but it's not typically how it works out. Typically, when you have a team, I feel like it's a lot better to build up your naturally strong voices. That's what most teams do. If you have naturally like a louder personality, you will be the caller on your team. You will demand more resources. You will demand the team play around you. And if you're just a quiet person, it's very hard to change like the psychological like essence and core of a person to be more talkative, you know? So it's more about just building around your natural voices, I think, than being like, hey, you play this role or you are this way, you should talk more or call these things. I feel like that is very hard to do.
It sounds like easing into it, right? You know, rather than forcing leadership, it's like leadership is... Some people say that leadership's born with. You know, it's something that people are born with from the get-go. Like, you know, for example, Abraham Lincoln was born with, you know, that sense of empathy that people always talked about him, you know, striving for in his presidency.
I feel like it can at least needs to be natural, right? So maybe you're not a caller or a leader right now, but you have someone on your team, you're a newer player, and you could like pick that up from them. That builds up your confidence. You take more leadership, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like we're going a bit too far down the rabbit hole with this one, but still, I feel like that's a really good like conversation, really good point on RAs. You know, again, where's the leadership come from this team? How much more can they develop in terms of like shot calling, map play? We saw really good play around their vision in this series. The way they were defending their vision lines, I thought was really good and really different from what we see from a lot of LPL teams.
I think for Rare Adam, you know, for me, like that sense of leadership is going to be really like one of my touch-ups whenever I see this team, because it does feel like leadership will carry this team to a very good position. And RA have been a bit of a surprise. I'm still waiting for the MVP, by the way, because MVP in this series has been, you know, very back and forth. Like
this game has to be FoFo. Sorry to interrupt you.
No. I think you're right. It should be FoFo, right? You know, FoFo, but it's Leyan. Wow. Okay. I should have let you say anything.
Our producer trolling me at the last second.
It's Leyan. All right. And okay. Well, I just, you know, I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. Going back to your last point, I don't feel like there's necessarily hey, this guy carried this game for RA. Again, for me, this game was much more TT misexecuting, but it felt like FoFo was the person who took advantage of that the most. But hey, we saw some crucial... Oh, actually, I know why this is. He stole the Baron. He stole the Baron.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
True.
he stole the Baron. It makes sense.
It does. You're right. The reason that RA came back into that game is because he stole the Baron. You know, TT had a pretty sizable gold lead, and then Leyan just stole the Baron. We saw early trading, but it wasn't until, was it this point? Yeah, he just walked in and said,
he stole the Baron. Yeah, it was pretty straightforward. I guess I can respect that. I can respect a very straightforward MVP. Not to say he played bad at all, right? He was, one thing that was really cool watching us play in this game was he was consistently surviving on the edge of these team fights, or at least surviving for a very long time and bringing out a lot of TT's cooldowns, which again then just left the likes of FoFo and iBoy to free hit. So it was definitely fun to watch from Leyan this game.
Yeah, it was the fight down in the bottom lane as well, where he drew attention from Sam D on the Samira as well, where he was a real pain. But ladies and gentlemen, I've just been told Hung is standing by with Wendy for a quick interview.